My marriage is on life support, and I wonder if it's time to remove the feeding tube. I have a spouse who plans to cheat on me at some point. He threatened me with it, and I've spent the last year on pins and needles wondering when it would happen. Of course, everyone is talking, just file for divorce. It's mental cruelty. Or you're acting like a whimpering crybaby. Just leave. But I love my partner. I went through hell to be with him. And I don't want to be a failed statistician at 35. I also want to have more children with this man. So that's my dilemma. We first met in college. We both studied at the University of Texas in the early 2000s. We both studied to be veterinarians, a program that the university is famous for. I take care of pets. My husband took care of livestock. After a few years, he decided that his true vocation was long-haul transportation and stopped being a veterinarian. He delivers pork chops by express courier to San Francisco. He is a human machine. He makes a trip in less than 24 hours every time. One day he said to me, "Honey, I never drive too fast." Besides, it's all about reflexes. Even after his career change, which I fought against and lost, we certainly don't suffer for money. Anyway, as I said, we met at College Station. I've been pretty active, but I've been cooling off for the last few months, thinking about my future. Jack, of course, did not notice this, so my trick worked to some extent. The failure was that while taking the pill, antibiotics accidentally got into her due to a sinus infection. So right after I got my degree, my water broke and we had to go to the maternity ward. Yes, in case you haven't figured it out, I'm Mrs. Burton now. Or at least I'm still Mrs. Burton at the moment, depending on where we go next. My name is Gracie. Our daughter's name is Margaret, although she prefers Margot. She's definitely her daddy's daughter. We don't get along very well. I think it's because she and I are both schemers. Throughout our marriage, I cheated on my husband from time to time. I just can't help myself. I'm addicted, and Jack is not up to my level in the bedroom. Anyway, that's not why I married him. I married him because he was easy to control and because he was able to earn well. Maybe it sounds cold to you, but then you probably live in a trailer and drive a Ford. I drive a Mercedes S-Series and live in a fucking mansion. If you've decided to settle down or haven't been preparing for the future, don't judge me. Jack has never cheated on me. He used to be like a charming puppy who followed me everywhere. I taught him everything in the bedroom. Fortunately, he believed my statement that I learned all this from the internet. I say he's not up to my level in bed, but he's damn close to it now, thanks to my training. Maybe that's why I'm so sad about our possible divorce. You see, everyone gets caught at some point. In my case, while I was making love to a Dominican citizen who arrived on a student visa, my daughter was using me behind my back. The little fool skipped school and filmed my session in high resolution on the camera of the phone I bought her. God, what a monster I've raised. I should have had a fucking abortion. But she was the one who tied Jack to me when we were younger and doubtful. Decisions. Hindsight never helps when you need it. When I got home that day, I saw her smirk at me and run upstairs. That's when I entered the living room and I walked straight into a nightmare. My very last scene was on TV. Jack was sitting in front of him with tears and a piercing sound coming from his chest. I froze. My mind told me to run over and pull the cord out of the socket, but my body was in shock. Then we could just come to an understanding. But this was not to be. He finally jumped up and threw the remote control at our very expensive UHD flat-screen TV. His head turned like a tower to face me. His eyes met mine, and all I saw was blind rage or hatred. I can't say exactly what it is. Jack, I can explain. It was yes, it was an accident or God's providence, right? I thought I knew about the difficulties between men and women, about how it rarely works. And yet I kept trying like a fool. His hands clenched and unclenched, and his breathing was ragged. For the first time since I met him, I really felt the fear that he might hurt me. Strangely, it sounded like he wasn't surprised by my affair, but I didn't have time to think about it. Instead, he ran into the garage, and I heard his truck start up, the old Ford he was keeping in working order. He always joked that it gave him farm credit when he went out and serviced his animal patients. Even when he stopped being a vet, he kept that stupid pickup truck. Right after that, I heard the automatic garage door start to open, and before I could run out into the driveway, he pulled out onto the street. Please, God, let him buckle up, I heard. My monster, my brat, was also standing on the stairwell and looking out the panoramic window. What the hell do you care? You did this to him. I shouted, what do you mean I did it to him? My soon-to-be ex-mother. I didn't make love to a guy while I was married, with a guy young enough to be my boyfriend. You're so monumentally naive. What an evil little fool I've raised. I needed her to get out of here. I started making a plan to save my life, and the first step was to send the hypocrite to her grandparents. After, of course, I confiscated her phone and destroyed the disc she recorded so her father could watch it. You're going to visit your grandparents. I would advise you not to mention any of this to them. You don't have any more evidence, and of course, I can make life extremely difficult for you while you live under this roof. You're crazy if you think I won't be able to control your father once he calms down. So my loving daughter, the fruit of my loins, don't mock me. In the end, I screamed. I thought she ran upstairs and fried, but I didn't know about the cloud then. Fucking computers. A day passed. My daughter was well, or so I thought, hidden away where she couldn't hurt me anymore. And my husband finally came home. His eyes were red, and he looked like he hadn't slept yet. I rubbed my eyes furiously when I heard that he had pulled up and I hadn't changed my clothes. When he entered the living room, I tried to appear in terrible shape. I exhaled cautiously in a little girl's voice. Please forgive me. I must have had a nervous breakdown. Sniffling. Don't know what came over me that I let this happen. His gaze was cold, even in spite of the pain. His gaze was full of some unfathomable emotions. I slowly got up and hugged him, but noticed that he did not respond to my gesture. He just stood there, like a fence post or a tree, unyielding. I failed you, us, and our daughter. I can't fix what I've done. I love you, Saab, and I won't fight if you want to leave me. I took a calculated risk. It could have gone either way, but I think the odds were definitely in my favor. Finally, he spoke. Could you stop rubbing against me because I can't concentrate when you do that? I'm tired, and I need more time to think without your influence. I'm going to sleep in the bedroom with the door locked for a while, so you need to take everything you need from there and go to the spare bedroom. It's a good thing he didn't fall for the divorce gambit. I ran upstairs and grabbed some things from the closet and the main bathroom, then took them to the spare bedroom down the hall. When I was coming back, the lock on the door clicked. I knocked lightly on the door. Jack, can we at least talk soon? We can talk in the morning. Now came the most difficult part. I needed to look even worse, so I avoided drinking water or eating. I tousled my hair even more and stuck my finger down my throat to throw up some liquid on my sundress. A few carefully applied not also complemented the look. In addition, I put a glass of vodka next to me and put some Vaseline on the back of my hand. I forced myself to stay awake the rest of the day and night to increase the appearance of fatigue. When Jack came down the next morning, I quickly rubbed my teeth with Vaseline to keep my lips open in a semblance of a smile. I also splashed a couple drops of the remaining vodka into my eyes to cause redness and tears. It hurt like hell, but it was necessary. I could see that he looked much better, although he was devastated. Even better was the obvious concern on his face about my appearance. He still loved me. I had a chance. Jesus, Grace, you look terrible. Let's get you to bed. He picked me up and carried me to the master bedroom. I was sobbing on his shoulder when he carried me into the room and laid me down. It got even better when he laid down next to me and started talking. You hurt me, Grace. You really shook the pillars of heaven, but I don't want you to hurt yourself. Mom called and said they were taking care of Margot, so we need to talk. He looked confused, but continued. I've been thinking about it very hard. I mean, harder than I've ever thought in my life. I think I might be willing to give you another chance, but you need to consult on your problems. There's something else. Anything, my love. I swear, I will. Quiet. He almost shouted. I think he was more outraged than he seemed. There's something else, Grace. You probably won't like it, but I need you to feel the soul-tearing pain that you put me through. I can't tell you when it's going to happen, but sometime in the future, I'm going to sleep with another woman and take it off. I was really shocked. I created a monster out of my loving spouse, and he was determined to disfigure me. The mere thought of him doing to another woman what I had done to my lovers was almost unbearable. But I needed him. I had to go through this to get my life back to where it was. I just want you to also know that before we make love again, you need to get tested for STDs. After I get my revenge at some point in the future, I will do the same. In the meantime, assuming that we'll become close again, I will put on a condom. Given my trust issues, I can't risk conceiving another child for you to try to bind me to you. Even more. I understand, Jack, my love. I don't want to feel the same pain, but I'll do it to keep you. I'll go through anything for this. I thought it was a little silly. But you have to do what you have to do. Over the next few months, we got used to a difficult routine. My demon child returned to the house, and she clearly couldn't understand why we didn't get divorced. I just grinned at her and reminded her that I run this family. After that, she didn't challenge me directly anymore. The cumulative effect was devastating. As the year went on, I lost all my self-confidence. I couldn't risk my husband finding out about the outside connection, so I relied solely on him. I missed him when he didn't pay attention to me. I lost weight, although I wasn't fat from the very beginning. Even my hair has lost its shine and has become brittle. People at work have told me that I look like I've been through a shock and aged 10 years. I couldn't sleep. My joints hurt. Maybe I'm getting old prematurely. The worst part is that I started to get hung up on my husband and, dare I say it, really love him. Everything was in his hands. Every day I waited for my world to be taken away from me, and like some evil priest from a movie, my Jack giggled happily. Who would have thought that the main intriguer would fall into a trap that she had set herself? Finally, almost a year later, I can't take it anymore. I decided to pull out the plug and see what happened. I sent my daughter back to my grandparents and decided to deal with my loving husband. He needed to take a shit or get off the pot or I'm leaving. Even though I really love him, for the first time truly, I can't suffer anymore. Jack, I can't take this anymore. I need you to hurry up and find this other woman, make love to her, and let me watch the tape so we can get through this. He just looked at me. I felt goosebumps crawl through my body when I realized that this look was the same as the one he gave me a year ago. The look of an insect collector when he sees a particularly interesting beetle that he wants to collect, or perhaps the feverish look of a young sociopath burning ants with a magnifying glass. What have I done with my actions? Do you really think I can stoop to your level? Gracie, he said in a cold voice, I noticed that he used my full name, which he never did because he preferred the nickname Grace. I was never going to do what I told you. All I've done this year is put pressure on you. I wanted you to finally love me, so that when you can no longer bear the worries and doubts, you would give me an ultimatum. He got up and went into his office. I heard the key turn in the lock and he came back with a large envelope. You can sign it or not. I don't care. We've come full circle. You and me. I don't care about you one iota anymore, and you seem to love me. See, now you feel what I felt before. You know what it's like to wonder every day if the one you love is going to give up that love and trust. A year ago, I wasn't going to decide anything. I just wanted to hurt you as much as possible without physically torturing you. I looked at the papers he handed me, the divorce papers signed and dated a little less than a year ago. My tears blurred the details, but they didn't really matter at the moment. There was one chance Gracie won. If during this time you had confessed everything, stopped trying to pass it off as some kind of mental problem and really apologized, we could have reconciled, but you didn't do it. You were dodging and trying to get out of it, just like I suspected. I'm not a fool, Gracie. I've had my suspicions for a long time, and I'm pretty sure this student wasn't your first outsider. I let it go because of our daughter, and because I loved you back then. Anyway, we're done. Sign the papers if you want, but in any case, take your things and leave. Margot will stay with me. She's old enough to choose, and that means I'll run the house until she graduates. You earn more than me, so good luck getting alimony. Go away. Margot's coming home soon, and I don't want you here. I was Frankenstein looking at what I had created. I doubted I was going to die of pneumonia anytime soon, but inside I was as dead as the bot creator of Mary Shelley's monster. He planned it all out, And I even had to wonder if his suspicions and plans were born around the time he decided to become a trucker. This, of course, changed the balance of money earned between us and reduced my chances of using alimony as a weapon to delay the divorce. He was also right that my daughter was old enough to determine for herself where she would live in terms of custody. In truth, the agreement was more than fair. Since he earned less money and would most likely become a guardian, I could be forced to pay him alimony. I can sue all of this, tie it up for months or years, but the huge economic costs associated with such a long-term lawyer's job make it reckless. Since I had few options, I reluctantly signed the papers right there, packing up some things before leaving. I can just have the movers pick up the rest. After all, things are just property. What I really want, I don't have anymore. That should have been the end of my sad story, but my daughter, having made it clear that she was not afraid of me and that she never wanted to see me again, uploaded my shameful actions from the cloud. I lost my job as a veterinarian and had to look for a job in another state where I could explain my sudden dismissal. Someday I'm sure I'll overcome the pain, the hellish feeling of being cut into pieces. I'm still attractive enough, and even if I don't forget Jack, I could replace him. I'm just not sure what good it can do. I've already had a marriage that I entered into without fully loving my spouse, and look where that got me. Of course, I'm not as strong as Jack. Jack gave me a whole year to be honest and do the right thing, and then maybe he would have accepted me again. I couldn't do it. As for my current love life, I have casual relationships, but I am emotionally cold and dead inside. I still love the monsters that I created myself.